Welcome back to Namaste Village. It's Friday. You guys were all here early. That either means that you're happy it's Friday or you just want to get this over with. I'm not sure which one it is, but here I am, and here we are together. Let's say that together. Let's say, here I am. Here I am. And now let's say, I am here. I am here. Just feel that for a moment. I am here. That holy presence, that sacred self here right now in this moment. It's so simple if we let it be simple. So I am joined this morning by a friend. As you can see, this is Brother Bob Flick. Bob is joining us for a few days, and so happy to have him here at Namaste. Bob is a former Roman Catholic priest and Franciscan, and is now an Anglican priest and a member of the community that I belong to, the community of Francis and Clare. So we are Franciscan brothers together, and it's nice to have another guy in brown. Well, we're not wearing brown right now, but if you see us on Sunday, you'll see us. But I want to begin by sharing a song. As we know, music takes us in ways that nothing else can. It elevates us. It's like the message slides into the back door rather than having to go through all the filters that we have lined up behind the front door of our consciousness based upon all of the ideas and concepts and experiences we've ever had, all our judgments. There are none of those filters through the back door, and music has a way of entering full in. When Scott Grace just stays in the moment and allows a song to be sung in that instant, not prepared, but a song in that moment, which I'm hoping he'll do again today, it's because he's allowing that information to slide in, not through the intellect, but through the soul. And this is a song, a prayer really, that I've always loved, and it is a prayer that is, I guess you could say, very St. Francis. I always imagine him singing this to me, or this could be the Christ singing it to you, however you envision that. But I'll invite you just to close your eyes if you choose. Just relax and hear this as deeply as you can. Stay simple. Stay humble and stay awake with me. I've heard your calling and I have answered with everything that you need. With everything that you need. Be like the birds of the air, the flowers in the field. For only then will your heart be healed, be healed. Stay simple and stay humble and stay awake with me. Your heart is open and will remain if you but choose to see, if you but choose to see my face in everyone, in everything, everywhere you go. Then like the flower You will open and you will know. Yes, you will know. To stay simple, stay humble, and stay awake with me. There is an answer so deep within you. This truth alone will set you free. This truth alone will set you free. Just stay simple, stay humble. So take a deep breath. And today we're going to strive to do just this, to stay simple, to stay humble, most of all, to stay awake. We've been called to be awake, to be aware, have our eyes wide open, not our physical eyes, but our spiritual eyes. We're going to share a couple of stories from St. Francis this morning, just to illustrate how that was done 800 years ago. But first, I want to just let Bob say a word or two just about what you've experienced so far, or anything else you'd like to share, just so we can hear from you. So here's Bob.
Thank you. It's great to be here, first of all. I've met some very interesting, cool people that I would appreciate coming to know more about and get more a sense of who you are and the life you live. I'm from Texas, from Galveston, Texas. And when we talk about uh, simplicity, we live near the water. It's one of my favorite places to be, the beach. And so to go there, and I used to run back in the days when I was about 1,000 pounds lighter, and I always ran on the beach, and that was my place, and still is, but in a different fashion. And I think for most of us, we have a place, a sacred place, and it doesn't really even have to be a particular setting, but a sacred place in us, a place of centering, a place of rest, and a place of peace. And there's something about being here, and for me, all the green and all the life is for me very important. So James and I have been friends, but for a short time, although last night over a couple beers, I guess, we came to know each other more deeply, and that's the kind of thing I like to do. I'm a spiritual director, and I seek quite a few people for spiritual direction, and it's always the highlight of my life and my prayer time, actually, I try to be in sync with other people who take the journey seriously, and that's what I feel here. So it's great to be here.
Taking the journey seriously. That's the perfect intro to what we're going to talk about. First of all, clearly that's what we are called to do this for real, not give lip service, not just go around talking about spiritual topics, but to really live this. And being in community is one really great way to practice that. Living in community can be one of the most blessed things, but it probably, you figured out by now, it brings up. If you live in a big family, same thing. It brings up everything that you need to look at to heal. That's a good thing. We need to take it seriously, our lives here, our commitment. And one of the things that I've always been so attracted to in the life of St. Francis of Assisi is that he took it muy seriously. In fact, really, he had only one goal, I guess. You could probably bring it down to this. And that goal was to see if it was possible to really live the gospel or to live that message of love that Jesus shared. Not just read or talk, but to live it. And that is as true today and as needed today as it has ever been needed. But even back in the time of Francis, in the 1200s, they probably said something to him like, oh, maybe they could do that 1200 years ago, but you can't do that now. And here we are saying, well, maybe they could do it 2000 years ago, or maybe Francis could do it 800 years ago, but you can't do it now. Who says that? Of course you can do it now. In small, simple ways, we can do it now. And that's how we all start. That's how Francis started. So I want to begin by just telling two stories. One of them I'm going to read from this little book. It's called The Flowers of St. Francis. It's, I think, the first English edition. It's a very old copy, a very old language. So I'm going to have to kind of translate the language as I go. But I was reading that from this book this morning, and it reminded me of one particular place that I love on the journey. I've walked several times with groups, and A has been with me as we walked the Camino of St. Francis, starting in a place called Laverna, and then going through towns like San Sepolcro, and that's where this takes place, because right outside San Sepolcro was a friary where Francis lived with some of the brothers called Monte Casale. And Francis was always wanting to find brothers and sisters who were taking this as seriously as he was. Maybe you can relate to that. But we're really willing to do whatever it took. So one story that I remember that took place at Monte Casale was two brothers, or two men rather, came to the friary asking to be brothers in the order. One of them was very learned. The other one was a bit more simple. And Francis took them out to the garden and said, okay, we're going to begin by gardening to see if you're capable or if this is the life for you. And so they had these little cabbage starter, I don't know if you call them seeds or bulbs maybe. And he instructed both of them. He said, I want you all to take these bulbs and I want you to plant them in the ground upside down. Plant them so it's going down rather than going up. And so they began, these two men began, and you could see that the learned one just like looking around like, what in the world is going on? So he goes to Francis finally and says, dear brother Francis, I know you are renowned through this whole country and through the whole world for your holiness, but you don't know anything about planting cabbages. You've told us to do it the wrong way. We're supposed to plant it this way, not that way. And Francis said to him, you are very wise indeed. In fact, I think you are too wise to be one of our brothers. So go ahead and hightail your ass back down to San Sepolcro. And he did. And the other brother came to Francis crying, and he had continued just doing what he was told. And he said, I must be not at all smart because I just did what you asked me to do. And Francis said, because of that, come and join us. Because you were willing to do what seemed to make no sense logically, because you were asked to do it. And how often does it come to us that we want everything to be logical, that makes no sense? Even things here at Namaste, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? But the willingness just to follow through, even if it makes no sense at all. I've always loved that story, and I'm going to share one more here. I'm going to put the mic on the stand so I can read from the book. Then we'll talk about it. This is another story that took place at Monte Casale. And it starts off with the story of a young man who Francis named Brother Angel because he was very young. I'm just going to read certain sections of this because it's a bit long. It says, St. Francis upon a time went through the district of Burgo to San Sepolcro, and as he was passing through a village which was called Monte Casale, a noble and delicate youth came to him and said, Father, I would very willingly be one of your brothers. But St. Francis replied, saying, Little son, you are young, delicate, and noble. Perhaps you could not bear our poverty and our strictness. The man said, Father, are we all not men, as I am? Then as you can bear them, so shall I be able to do so with the grace of Jesus Christ. This reply pleased St. Francis greatly. Wherefore, blessing him, he straightway received him into the order, and he gave him the name Brother Angel. Then it goes on to say how Francis, within a certain amount of time, made him the guardian, so put him in charge. And one day, let me see. So there happened to be a band of robbers who were kind of terrorizing the area. They were robbing people and even killing people, but they were very hungry one day, and they came to the friary to get some food. And this is what Brother Angel said to them. You robbers and cruel murderers, are you not ashamed to rob the labors of others? But even as presumptuous and shameless men, do you wish to devour the alms which are sent to the servants of God? Very serious. You are not worthy that the earth maintain you, since ye have neither shame before men nor God who created you. Be gone then about your business and appear no more. Wow. And so they went off hungry. When Francis came along sometime later, he heard about what Brother Angel had done. And he said to Brother Angel, Inasmuch then as you have acted against charity in the Holy Gospel, I command you by holy obedience that you go straightway, take this bag of bread that I have begged and this vessel of wine, and go after them diligently through the mountains and valleys till you find them, and present them with all this bread and the wine by my name, and then kneel before them and tell them of your fault and your cruelty, and beg them in my name to do no more evil, but to love God and to offend no more. And if they do this, I promise to provide for them in their needs, all of their needs, and to give them regularly to eat and to drink. And when you have done this, return to us humbly. And so Brother Angel goes and he finds the men and he does exactly as Francis has instructed. And these men are so moved, these men are so moved by this that they not only turn their lives around, but they come and they become brothers in the order. This is the power of charity, and it's the power of taking seriously. We could use a Christian context, we could use a Hindu context, a Buddhist context, none of that matters. Don't get stuck on the words. Just stick with love. What Francis asked him to offer was love, a love that made no sense. These were men who were murderers and robbers. And I could imagine Brother Angel going out looking for them and thinking they're going to find me and they're going to do me something bad because I'm the one who turned them away. But his heart was open. So to me, this is what we are called to every single day. And we could just reduce it and bring it down to love. We are here to love one another. There are times when people here in the community or people in the community of those who are on Zoom, they're going to do things, maybe not steal and rob and murder, but they're going to do things that we think they shouldn't do. We're going to judge them. And as soon as we do, we fall out of that frequency just to love. And that's what in this story, we can hear it so plainly. His whole message was love one another. Just love. Forget about that other stuff. Just love. That's what it means to take this seriously, no matter what, to love. I'm looking at the daily word. It says, I forgive. I put the past behind me. And from A Course in Miracles, Father, I will but remember you. I will but remember love. So, Brother Bob, where does that take you? What does that inspire in you?
Well, it takes me all kinds of places, actually. When you started off about calling us to be present to the presence or in the presence, that I think is the core of sort of the mode, the MO, the way we are on our spiritual journey. What we're called into is being present to that presence, and that presence is what Francis always sought after. The story of Francis, many of you may have heard it, when he was living down in the valley in what is now sort of modern Assisi, but down in the valley at the Church of Our Lady of the Angels. Down the road, maybe 10, 12 miles, was a place called Arrivo Torto, and there was a leper colony there near there. And Francis made it for himself a special call to serve the lepers because he found them grotesque and smelly and just pathetic in so many ways. And it was for him, and we all have these things in our lives. It was for him the challenge to be there and to be present to the presence of God as God called him through that relationship with the lepers. And so he would bathe them and care for them and feed them as part of his spiritual practice. And we call that, I guess, in the spiritual journey, we can use the word contemplation. So that's what contemplation is, that presence to the presence of God. We hear in James's story how Francis did not lose that presence to the presence of God in the robbers, in the my own pastoral experience in the church I've been a priest 42 years. Although I'm only 49. I was young when they ordained me. And most of my experience has been in the jails and in the streets. And with working with people with severe and persistent mental illnesses, and that is not because it's the most fun thing for me or the most accessible. Certainly not the place where you go to have people swoon all over you and make goo goo because you're a priest or a friar or whatever. But for me, in terms of my spiritual life, it was the place where I've always felt called to work um, at to be gifted, to allow myself to be open to be gifted by God in the context of the severe difficulties that these people would present. So if you're working, I had a congregation and we'd have 250 people without homes on Sundays, and then during the day we'd have about 150 a day. And people would say, "How aren't you exhausted?" Doesn't it's like, well, if you go in there trying to fix them, you're going to be exhausted because you're never going to get finished. But if you go in there trying to experience God within them and call forth from them that love of God and interface with that, no, it's really not very exhausting at all because it's plenteous. It's like right in your face. They don't fake it, right? And they don't hold back in being who they are in front of you, as so many of us can do so easily. And so, as James said, there's a simplicity about being spiritual because it can cut through all of the ego and the kinds of things that we we present to the world. It's cutting through to get to who we really are and who other people really are, and what nature, Francis, the patron of ecology, what nature is. I remember a personal story. I spent time in Rome and Assisi studying spirituality, and one of the I was going to make a retreat while I was in Assisi, and I was going to go to this friary. It's called Specco di Narni, and Specco means in Italian, it means cave, and so it's a friary there. And so I went to the cave. Well, I went to the friary there, and there's this little fat like cookie jar, friar. He was like the cookie jars used to be with the big, and he was the guardian, and he was very short, which worked there because the building was so old that for me to get into the rooms, I had to duck like almost a foot just to get into the room, to my room. And then the bed was very short because the room wasn't big, because people were smaller. Well, this guy was still small, and but he was wide. But so anyway, I was expecting Specco. I was expecting to experience a cave, and I don't know about you, but when I think about a cave, I'm from Ohio, right? So we have caves around, and you go down into these caves, and now it's off, the lights come on, and you can see the cave, but without the lights, it's just absolute dark, right? Absolute dark. So I had that sense that this was a way that Francis would enter into, that darkness of perhaps his own life, or that, his time in contemplation would be about that, entering into the depths. So this little friar said, "Do you want to see the Specco?" And I said, "Sure." And so we went up the hill, rather than down, and we were standing there, and he pointed to this little niche in the wall, and it had green growing all over it, and it was like a little chair, more like a little throne, sitting there. And he said, "Well, there it is." And I was really at first very disappointed because it didn't connect at all to my idea of what I pictured Francis doing. So I sat in the thing, and out before, literally in front of me, were huge fields of sunflowers. And I don't know, in Italy, sunflowers are pretty common, but these fields of sunflowers where they grow them for the sunflower oil and the seeds and all those kinds of things. And they follow literally the sun. So the field would change as the sun moved. The flowers would actually move a little bit, and it would just, the colors were incredible, and it was green and yellow and beauty, and the river in the Umbrian Valley, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. And it dawned on me that that was Francis's idea of a cave, right? That being drawn into the beauty, which St. Bonaventure says is God's first name, to be drawn into the beauty of Francis's cave really is a core experience in contemplation, to be present to all of God's creation, most mightily, of course, other human beings. But there's myriad stories of Francis with wolves and flowers and birds and all that kind of stuff. Today he'd probably be diagnosable, but um, you know, but it was reflective of his intimate connection as a contemplative to the presence of God everywhere. And when I said this morning, I love all the green. By us, there's a lot of brown because it's very dry. And this has just been, just connecting again, reconnecting to that earth. That is, I think, so much a part of the way we connect. So being present to the presence of God in all creation is being contemplative, and being simple, and allowing the depths of the goodness and beauty of God to touch our souls is what gives us life in an ongoing way, which is in fact the spiritual journey, right? The end of the spiritual journey is compassion. And you cannot know compassion unless you are with others. And also with yourself, with that self that you are created to be and to become. Bonaventure would say that if you want to be a great gift to the world, the greatest gift that you have to give is to be for me, as Bob as I can be, or put your name in it. That's the greatest gift you have to give. And that's what I believe, are called into, to be present to that presence of God that is outside of us in creation, that is inside of us, and also very powerfully, that is the mystery. And for me, that's the Trinity, which is love by definition.
Thank you. See why I invited him? Being present to the presence that is everywhere at once. And I know another person who is very present to the presence, and that's Victoria. So, Vicky, we would love just to hear your share for a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Good morning to you, dear one. Hold on, Vicky. I don't know why this is not working. We're not getting the sound through our speakers, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just bring it back. 1 second. Okay, try and speak now, Vicky. That didn't work. Let me see. Oh, I was in the wrong place. Yep. To test it just to make sure, Ravi, but I think it should be fine. 1 second, everybody. We'll get. Okay, hold on. Audio. Where do we have speaker? Okay, try and speak now, Vicky. Vicky.
All right, Brother James, have you got me?
There we go. Okay.
So, all right,
Gotcha.
Brother Bob, what a pleasure, what a joy to really rest in the presence of your presence. Thank you. So I'll only add something really short, especially from what you started with, Brother Bob, that little place within us, that's that center of peace that many of us are very familiar with by now, I think. A place where we really rest into that presence. And if I were going to put a few words around it, I'd take them from Jesus in the New Testament, and it's just consider the lilies of the field. Considering the lilies of the field is one of those respite spots in me that recognizes that the presence of God is in everything and everyone. And I think of myself as a little lily in the field, that I'm cared for, and the winds come and the winds go, and I don't toil and I don't spin, and I have everything I need unto the changing of my form. If my form is to go into the fire, so be it, because I always already have everything. And that predisposition in my mind and in my heart is what allows me more and more, it's a daily way of life, of moving into this, to live in the presence with all of creation around me, a reflection of God's love, that I would both be receiving and giving. So consider the lilies of the field. We have everything we need. We just show up to glow and to pass on that love and beauty that is inherently what we were created as. And so I thank you both, because that touched me right back there, to rest in that gentle spot. And I do consider the lilies of the field in every which way, that I'm the lily, that I'm part of the world around me, protecting those lilies and giving them and receiving them and appreciating their beauty. Thanks, Brother James. Thank you, Brother Bob.
Thank you, Vicky. And thanks to all of you. What a beautiful way to begin to close our week together. Consider the lilies of the field. They neither toil nor do they weep, and yet God gives them everything. Don't you think he's going to do the same for us? Of course. Of course. We just have to receive. We just have to accept and allow. Welcome, allow, and dissolve. Just remember those 3 words and you'll be fine. So, Scott Grace, you got something for us? All right, so we're going to bring Scott up and he's going to share a song to close out our week. Let me get the mic all set for you. Okay, you can go ahead and have a seat down here, Bob, and we'll get out of the way. There you go, brother. Show us what you got.
James, what were your famous last words? Welcome, accept, and
I
dissolve?
welcome, I allow, and I dissolve.
Okay, let's start there. I welcome. Oh, I like my accompaniment there.
Someone got unmuted, so I'm gonna mute everybody again. Oops, wrong one. Oh, okay, I think whoever was unmuted muted themselves.
I welcome, I allow, I dissolve. I recognize the problem has been solved. I'm considering the lilies of the field. They neither toil nor they spin sweat. They just reveal the beauty of the Lord. There's always so much more. Even the lepers we adore, 'cause we see the God in everyone. We see the God, the work is done right here as we accept, allow, and dissolve. All of our problems already been solved, so we get to celebrate our Namaste on this special day. Every day's another special day when we get out of the way and let the words just flow and let God have the undertow, and we take it out to sea, and eternity just takes us where we long to be. There's no right or wrong, we're just singing a song, and life moves the song along, and all is well in the universe as we put things first and dissolve.
Wow. Thank you. I just love that. What a gift. Thank you so much. Such a blessing. We are blessed, aren't we? We are blessed, aren't we? Okay, let it resound. Let it just, let's live this now. Let's not just talk or come together for a half hour, 40 minutes. Let's live this now by loving one another. Really deeply, no matter what happens, we love. And then everything else takes care of itself. So we're going to leave it right there. Thanks to all of you for joining us here at Namaste, all around the world. We love you so much. Have a blessed Friday. And I think Reverend Lawrence, you're doing the sermon on Sunday. And then Lawrence is also going to be with us on Monday as well. So we'll see you all on Sunday. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Beautiful session. Thank you.
I love you all.
everyone. Thank you.
Have a
Bye
nice
for now.
weekend, everybody.